It's a good day. It's a great day, actually. If you're me, if you're anybody else, maybe not. But if you're me, it's a fantastic day. Show this tweet. I sent this out on the 3rd. Hey, Mako trying to come in. She wants to talk about December to Dismember as well.
Or as I call it, December to Disremember.
18 years it's been since the last December to Dismember, because it was the only December to Dismember. Well, you know what? I'm letting you know today we're making a new pay-per-view, December to Dismember. I'll make it for the universe. Maybe around the 19th or 20th anniversary. I think it's a little too late to implement that now. But I, because of this momentous occasion, like I said, I busted the DVD out. It was a great time, had by only me. I tried to get you to watch it on your own time, and I'm glad that you got halfway through it, I think.
Yeah, I made it to, I don't know if do I go ahead and say the match, or do you want me to? Davari versus
They've already
Dreamer.
seen the card.
Yeah. I made it to the end of Davari versus Dreamer, and it was at that point that I went and took a nap. I was so tired. I was like, you know what? I was so bored and tired. I'm done taking a nap.
Man, we'll get to the match when we get to the match, but I got thoughts on that match myself.
Oh my god.
Let's open up with the hype video for the big Extreme Elimination Chamber, and then, of course, we get the And Now.
ECW's December to Dismember.
And now. So, I've watched this pay-per-view exaggeratedly 100 times. Maybe not exaggerating. Maybe I have watched it a literal 100 times. I can't tell you. But I'm the only guy in the world that loves it, and I'm alright with that. I'm okay with that fact. I think this is going to be a fun episode.
I think it'll be funner than the rewatch.
Opening match, I could have told you by memory. Eminem versus the Hardys. If you're unfamiliar with Eminem, Johnny Nitro, Joey Mercury, Molina. I hope I could educate you today.
I had to explain that to my brother who was watching it with us.
It's funny. I was like, hopefully you knew, but I don't mind educating you. And someone older than me. Well, it's okay, though. The Hardys are the Hardys, and Jeff was, at the time, the Intercontinental Champion as well. This is right after his 2006 return. Got the big push. Hardys were getting the revamp. They weren't quite yet tag team champions, but they had faced Eminem off and on a couple times, and even going forward from this. But it was billed as like one night only. It was billed one night only.
It's part of one of my biggest complaints about the show. I'll get to towards the end, but
the match is a solid tag match, of course. These teams had several great matches beforehand and even after the fact, like I said. It had become at this time a cool integrated rivalry that saw Jeff Hardy and Johnny Nitro bouncing back and forth for the IC title, even had one of my favorite ladder matches on Raw. But the two teams wrestling special tag team matches against each other on SmackDown and ECW products. This was the first time that it would be a good draw to bill it as like the only time in ECW, or the one time in ECW, never gonna happen again. So like that's where the one night only thing came, was basically billing like the two teams are never gonna face each other in ECW again. And they had faced each other the week leading up to this on ECW TV.
I guess that's a special occasion. I don't know.
A lot of people didn't agree with it. I did, though. Suck it. Like I said, match delivers decently. Just don't expect like FTR versus the Briscoes level delivery, and you'll see. Meaning like don't hold it to such a high standard, and you'll see it's a good enough match. But even then, it holds up in the list of good tag matches that took place. Hardys get the win after a fun opener.
Yeah, I mean, it was okay. Like you said, there were a couple of spots that looked a little rough. There were a couple of spots that were amazing. The Swanton Bomb onto both Mercury and Nitro.
Yeah.
Amazing. Love that ending. Have you ever noticed that Joey Mercury looks like a nu metal singer?
No, I've never noticed.
He go back and like look at him specifically that day. I thought we were having Korn or something.
Pull the picture back up again.
Like when he's in the ring and his hair's down. You can see, like, oh, is this like Korn?
It was a weird look he had at the time. Anytime I see Joey Mercury's face, we're pulling him back up again. I always think of Armageddon around the same time when he got his face busted up. One of the most brutal ladder spots of all time.
Yes.
After that, we hear from RVD on why he's going to win the Extreme Elimination Chamber. He's pretty convincing.
Yeah.
I was pretty certain he was getting the belt back on him.
Oh.
Then we get back to the ring for Matt Striker versus Balls Mahoney. But before the match, Matt Striker has to get on the mic and educate everybody why he's smarter and better than us all. And also to insult Balls Mahoney. He also says this match will be contested under extreme rules, but not the fun ones. No, sir. He actually means extreme enforcement of the rules. They go as follows. No gouging of the eyes, no pulling of the hair, no moves off the top rope, and no foul language. These are what...
So, I have a question.
These are Striker's rules.
So, the crowd would then chant Balls' name as he comes out. Yes. Would that technically have been considered? Like, could he have
It's not foul, but it is... I mean, balls aren't foul until you make them foul.
But it's... I guess
there's
so.
Basketballs, footballs.
I guess so. Context is important.
Exactly. Big context. Alright. Balls Mahoney, the actual amateur wrestling aficionado and great fighter, comes out. Need to remind people he's more than just a chair-swinging savage. He just does that shit for fun. That's just what we do for entertainment. This match, okay, maybe not over the top great. But it is entertaining to watch, and it does have context. And it's not a boring exhibition, just not a super exciting one.
Yeah,
give it its credit and give Balls his credit.
Yes.
He wrestles Striker's rules even when Striker doesn't, which is kind of...
That's the point, I guess.
See, you know, I want to draw away from the fact... Go back to my tweet. I want to show my tweet one more time. I want to draw away from the fact that people compared this pay-per-view to WCW 2000 New Blood Rising. It's just like worst pay-per-views ever. But the Canadian rules and Striker rules thing just really got me thinking... I was like, well, I hated the Canadian rules thing. Then I remember what pay-per-view it was on. And then I remember what pay-per-view I'm reviewing. I'm like... I'm trying to disprove that.
My least favorite part about this match...
Yes.
Which I told you in the pre-show. We get 5 different shots of Matt Striker's butt.
I'm glad I didn't take a sip yet.
It's to show the face that he has. He has his face on his trunks and whatever, but did we need 5 different shots of that?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
The word need does not come into play.
Exactly.
No, sir.
Also, I forgot how annoying Matt Striker is.
Oh my gosh, dude, one of my least favorite of all time. Least favorite commentator of all time, for sure. Like, he makes the bottom of the list. I've tried to make the list. From Jim Ross to Matt Striker, that's the bottom.
You just made a list!
That is the bottom. Pat McAfee, you're coming pretty damn... See, Pat McAfee's not a bad commentator,
He's not.
He's not a part of December to Dismember, so disregard this, but he's not bad. He just is an ass. He's a jackass.
It's the whole separate art from the artist thing, I guess.
Hey, you make a good point. We're calling him an artist today, but I digress.
That's not the point, but
Backstage at December to Dismember, we see CM Punk warming up for the Extreme Elimination Chamber, and then cameras scramble over to Sabu on the ground getting help. He appears to have been attacked, and this, along with RVD having the belts taken off of him so soon, was actually a whole backstage punishment thing for a weed charge they got, as we know. Yeah, as we now know, which we covered this in the ECW Through the Table we did, like, the second Through the Table. But at the time, we, of course, had no idea. They had got pulled over, caught with some weed, caught a charge. They caught 30-day suspensions, and then for some, like, weird, unfair treatment, to get to that 30-day suspension, they had to take the belts off of RVD, and then...
Yeah.
But see, people will always question, why did RVD get to be in this match and Sabu not?
See, that doesn't... See, yeah, and you make a good point. Like, why... I don't know. And
something else had to be going on. That's just too, like, unbalanced. But they still both had to serve 30-day suspensions. In fact, RVD's wouldn't come riding off of TV until Randy Orton would, like, a week later punt him in the head or take him out. It was part of the Randy Orton's taking everybody out.
See, yeah, and that's one of the reasons I dislike the pay-per-view the most. Like, at the time, at least, I didn't know Sabu was a terrible person, so I just liked Sabu. So I was like, and why would you take one of the ECW, like,
originals
out of
somebody
this
who's going to
match.
thrive in this environment
Yes.
and put in Hardcore Holly. No disrespect, I love Hardcore Holly, but like, it's just, it sucks. It's not the best way to start their suspensions. I don't agree with it.
Yeah,
I don't agree with it being the way. This is not the way.
Not Johnny Gargano's way.
We come back to the arena where the crowd is chanting bullshit.
Exactly.
And Elijah Burke, along with his partner Sylvester Turkay.
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 Or is it Turkay?
Turkay.
No, it's Turkay.
I've heard it on SmackDown and
It's
ECW
Turkay.
so many times over
See,
as a
it's
kid.
funny because when he came out, I was like, oh, it's Sylvester Turkay. Who the hell is this guy?
Yeah. They begin making their entrance amidst that, and these two guys had been in the system for a year or two, bouncing around. Mainly Sylvester with Elijah as his manager, but as fate would have it, Elijah Burke would be the one to get a push not much later on, even having the New Breed faction be built around him.
Yeah, and like going into this match, I was like, I remember Elijah Burke. I completely remember Elijah Burke.
Yeah.
The Elijah Experience. I remember that. What I don't remember is Sylvester. The fact that I even said his name wrong when they first popped up his thing before they said it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He was built as like, hey, I'm this big MMA fighter and I'm gonna damage everybody. They could not get him over, and then even on the ECW revamp when they were trying, it was like, nope. But this Elijah guy, he's got something.
Yeah.
I hated him. I hated Elijah Burke. That's how good he was.
Yeah.
I hated him as a kid. Elijah gets on the mic and says cocky green heel stuff. Then my team, FBI, comes out. We love FBI.
Yeah, I love it. I loved when...
Look at him. I'm just going to keep playing it on loop.
Yeah. See, I didn't know what to expect from this. Again, it had been such a long time since I've seen this. And like,
match contains more substance than I think you expect.
Exactly.
Than I think anybody expected. It was a rather good tag match. Elijah and Sylvester get a solid, dominant finish without making FBI look like they got squashed.
Yes.
Good match that I think we all overlooked on the card.
Yeah, like
that's all I gotta say.
Coming out of the match, I was like, I didn't think the right team won, but that's just me. Yeah. I get that they were trying to build but really solid match, like you said. I forgot how fast FBI were was the main thing. Like, it was a hot start. They were super solid in the ring, super fluid. Really loved it.
Go back to backstage where they're loading Sabu in the ambulance and everybody around is asking what happened.
I blame society.
Then quickly back to the ring where Daivari is coming out with a very large attraction named the Great Khali accompanying him to the ring. Mind you, Daivari is in the match, not Khali.
See that? Yeah, that was not a good point for me.
Daivari's opponent, as we already talked about a little bit, Tommy Dreamer, comes out next and hesitantly gets in the ring while staring at the Great Khali.
I mean, to be fair, I probably would too.
I'm a little hesitant.
Mind you, it's just Tommy Dreamer we're talking about, the heart and soul of ECW.
He's the butt of ECW.
Well, I mean, I'm just going by what they called him.
He's the ass boy of ECW.
That's fair.
Match is so-so, not super great. But again, it's not like it has a lot of negatives or like anybody did badly. Just slower, and Dreamer is just really more of a hardcore wrestling attraction.
Yeah.
Like, his actual technical matches aren't anything to write home about. I wouldn't write my grandma and say, hey, check out the new Dreamer match. Though, towards the closing of the match, he does pick up a lot of momentum, and then Daivari rolls him up quickly. And out of random flow, it did not mesh well at all, and pins him for 3. That part, that was a big turnoff, I'll admit. I get a roll-up pin, but like when it doesn't even flow with the match, it's just like, what did Dreamer do? Did he get caught with weed too? Did Dreamer also get busted with weed?
I see. One of the biggest complaints I have about this pay-per-view, Are
we allowed to say weed? I don't think I can say weed. I think that... I wonder if people are like, what's he saying? Anyway, continue.
It's just mainly that it doesn't feel like a pay-per-view to me. It feels like an ECW tribute show, except not even that. They don't commit to that because obviously Dreamer loses, the FBI lose, so it's like... It feels like it's trying to be too many things, and it's not really succeeding at much of it.
Going back to that through the table and why WWE ECW failed so much, I think this was around just the turning point of like Paul has no creative control anymore.
Yeah.
He didn't have very much to begin with at all, but I think at that point, after this point, he just lost it. They were like, hey, we're going to do our own thing. And then by the end of it, Ezekiel Jackson's ECW champion. The final ECW champion of all time is Ezekiel Jackson. Just let that sink in. Tommy Dreamer chases Daivari up the ramp and back into the back, and then, to nobody's shock at all, met at the entrance by the Great Khali, who then slams Dreamer onto the stage area. He bounces pretty hard. His whole body bounces. Then he raises his arms and goes, ah! Then we spend a lot of time watching and waiting for Tommy Dreamer to get on his own feet. Not Tommy Dreamer doing the we're talking about the Great Khali. I hope everybody got that, like the Great Khali.
I was doing but in a different way.
Yeah, then we spend a lot of time waiting for Dreamer to get on his feet. Then we go backstage where Paul Heyman tells Hardcore Holly he will replace Sabu in the Extreme Elimination Chamber.
Ooh.
Next match, Mike Knox and his girlfriend, whose boobs everybody but him has seen, Kelly, come out to face the vampire couple of Kevin Thorne and Ariel, one of my most favorite underrated duos of all time. Yeah. 3 people in this match I used to love, and the other is Mike Knox. That's my note going in.
This bitch is getting on my nerves.
Kelly was actually my first woman poster in my room as a boy. Let's not get too personal here.
I was about to say, wait, hold on. Okay.
Before Kevin and Ariel come out, though, Kelly sneakily grabs the ring announcer microphone and hides it from Mike Knox, and then gets on it and says, I just want to wish CM Punk good luck in the Extreme Elimination Chamber. This just pisses Mike Knox off and starts CM Punk chants. It's not hard to start CM Punk chants no matter what area you're in. Then the cool vampire couple comes out. We give them a little shine here because we just love them. We miss them. I will say, one time I went looking for Ariel, like, what have they done since?
Oh, no.
I found shit I was not supposed to find, and shit I cannot unsee. Don't go looking.
Oh, no.
Match is mostly just Mike Knox versus Kevin Thorne, but Ariel tags in eventually, and it makes Kelly scared to get in the ring. Makes sense.
Of course.
But she does, and the match gets raised 100 XP in the sex appeal column. That's kind of why they do it. From that point, it's a short stint of Ariel doing creepy basic offensive moves to Kelly and then getting the pinfall victory over her. Yes, Ariel gets the pinfall finish.
What?
Ariel decides to attack Kelly some more after the match, and then the Sandman's music hits.
What?
He comes down in Sandman fashion and beats Kevin Thorne with the cane. Are you surprised?
No.
Next, we hear from Bobby Lashley on why he's going to win the Extreme Elimination Chamber, and look back on how Paul Heyman screwed him out of winning it to begin with. The ECW title, that is.
Right.
So now, we finally make it to the main event.
I'm sorry, hold on. My brain is not... So you're telling me
Ariel thing?
Kevin Thorne won, his team won, but
yes.
he then gets beat up by Sandman anyways.
Yes.
So you're telling me he did not...
He grabbed his bat to try to...
Who were they trying to push at the time?
They were trying to push Kevin Thorne, allegedly.
So then you push him by letting him get beat up by Sandman.
You make a valid point, I think.
Why wouldn't you just have Sandman beat up?
That's why Kevin Thorne didn't ever get to the point he was supposed to, because of shit like that. Like, I guess he had a cool gimmick, but they made it too weird of a gimmick and too, like, playful.
Yeah.
It should be taken serious. I'm a vampire.
And then, like, Mike Knox ends up becoming the butt of the joke. So why not start here and have Sandman beat him up anyways? Even though he lost on that.
Up Mike Knox. Everybody wants to beat on Mike Knox.
Exactly. Sorry.
I don't remember which game it was, but one of the video games, I jobbed Mike Knox out to everybody. He was losing to everybody. He was the number one, like, let's beat up Mike Knox.
Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah. Mike Knox used to be like my who's a jobber for you? Like, who do you beat up on the most? When you got to put an opponent against any other wrestler, who's your, like, go-to, I don't mind this guy up?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair.
No, who is that?
Who's in 2K24, it's Pat McAfee's friends.
But this bitch is getting on my my nerves.
Granted, I bought the season pass, so I had them anyways. But I wasn't gonna buy it separately if that's what you were thinking. Before that, let's see. Mike Knox. Yeah.
It's just Mike Knox. It's
honestly just like.
All right, now, weird. I know, uncommon. We're gonna take a pause break for a moment, and we're gonna come right back.
I've been up all night, baby, I keep it going. Catching flight after flight, hit me up in the morning.
And we're back.
Yeah.
I made it back. We just had a technical difficulty.
Now, society.
We're about to talk about the main event, Extreme Elimination Chamber, and it's the best elimination chamber of all time, from what you say.
No,
His words, not mine.
No, but what I want to question is this was obviously the first Extreme Elimination Chamber. Was there ever another one?
No, that was the only.
Right.
It's the only.
I told that to my brother as well. I was like, this is the first and only Extreme Elimination Chamber.
Just surprised you got anybody to watch it with you. Paul Heyman comes out first and gets on the microphone and puts over new era ECW and talks about the old era of ECW is dead. Then he demands they lower the cage, as Big Show will now usher us into the new era of ECW by winning this Elimination Chamber match. And
this feels very un-Paul Heyman-like. Well, Paul Heyman likes to do things that piss people off.
He
and he knows his core audience of ECW.
Let's put the title on the Big Show. Now, let's reiterate the rules of the Extreme Elimination Chamber in case you didn't even know what that was. It's the same as a regular Elimination Chamber. It's the same rules, but we just add hardcore weapons into each chamber for the competitors to use. Examples: barbed wire baseball bat, steel chair, table of course, and a crowbar.
Let's go.
Cannot forget a crowbar.
See, if they would have kept it until now, we could have had Tony D in there with the crowbar.
You know what would have made it extreme? If the pods were made out of real glass.
Real glass! Call me a river.
CM Punk flashing into his future.
Okay.
Call me a river.
Big Show comes out first. Chooses the barbed wire baseball bat as his weapon. I don't blame him. That would have been my go-to. If I could pick anyone, crowbar or barbed wire baseball bat. CM Punk comes out next. chooses the pod with the chair. I'm trying to keep my composure here. Not the best weapon, but still efficient. Also, it gives you the opportunity to sit down while waiting to enter if you wanted.
Yep.
He didn't appear to want to, but he could have if he wanted to. I would have. That's prime time. You have a chair to sit.
They should have gave him a glass bowl.
I'm not playing into this. Test comes out next and boringly walks around before choosing the pod with the crowbar.
Boringly walks around.
What does he do? He just has muscles. He walks and looks at stuff. That's it.
That was the other inclusion in this chamber that I was like,
no aura. You have wrestlers that define aura. This is the opposite of that. He defines no aura. Bobby Lashley comes out next. Mean mugs everybody before going in his pod, which contains the table.
I mean, that's fair, I think.
Hardcore Holly comes out second to last, which means he's starting the match with the other entrant, Rob Van Dam, who comes out surprisingly empty-handed and just ready to fight with his natural weapons, his hands and his feet. I think Rob Van Dam's feet are registered weapons anyway.
Yeah.
So they start the match with just a hard-hitting, rough 5 minutes of smashing around, and RVD does the Rolling Thunder onto Holly while he's on the steel grating.
I remember that.
Really
very
played back
vividly.
spot. Yeah. Here's a picture of how much it hurts.
Yes.
Punk comes out next with his chair and goes to work on getting the chair thrown back in his face by RVD.
That's a very RVD thing to do. He likes putting chairs in people's faces. I don't know why.
I can't play it even if I wanted to. It's a weird spot. CM Punk comes out, he hands the chair to RVD. RVD grabs it, looks at him, and throws it in his face. What are you doing?
What was... Okay.
Nothing too exciting gets done in this section of the match other than RVD getting busted open.
Of course he's the first one to get busted open.
Yeah. Here's a picture of the Elimination Chamber lookout. We're not going to have too many of these. So there's CM Punk saying real glass. Oh, I did play into it a lot.
You did it. I can't believe.
Test comes out next, and he starts hitting and maiming people with his crowbar, and that goes for a while before RVD goes RVD mode.
Let's go.
And starts going off on everybody and running around with a chair. He hits Punk with a 5-star frog splash and eliminates Punk. Yes, CM Punk was the first eliminated. He was not yet getting that push that everybody was clamoring for.
And if I remember correctly, I was already a fan of Punk at this time, so
Yeah.
I was very
Oh, yeah.
upset. Even though I was also a big fan of RVD,
Yeah.
but I was I wanted it to be these two at the end.
It hadn't been half a year, 6 months since his debut on ECW, but even it was at that point, it was right leading up to this where people started to say, no, they need to put the belt on Punk. He's going to be the future. And they're like, actually, psych, hold on. I got to get to that in a second.
Yep.
Then we get a confusing moment where Test is about to strike RVD right after that, and he instead hits Hardcore Holly with the boot and maybe pins him, but there's no legit 3 count or announcement that Hardcore Holly was eliminated. The ref stops the count at 2.5 without Holly kicking out at all.
God.
Then the ref is seen instructing Holly to roll out. Very poor officiating, and I think Holly might have accidentally been knocked out, is what I'm gathering out of this. But the ref protocol to handle that is way different than how this got handled.
Yeah.
The commentators say he kicked out. He clearly didn't, though, and he's already exiting the chamber at this point. Test hits a diving elbow from the top of the chamber onto RVD. Yes, Test jumped from the top of the chamber onto RVD, not the other way around.
Wow.
With a chair on his chest, on RVD's chest, and eliminates him.
It was at this point where I was I don't care who wins.
Yeah, it's after this that they acknowledge that Test has eliminated RVD and Hardcore Holly. Just casually, they do that. just very casual. So only Test left. We wait a little while, and then we get the next entrant, which is Bobby Lashley. But Paul Heyman's security guys keep the pod locked so Lashley can't get out. And this is literally the only picture I could find of the masked security guys that used to follow Paul Heyman around. I'm surprised because I thought people would have been talking about them more long term. Nobody's talking about you guys. Sorry.
Damn. That's rough, man.
It really is. It really is. They did nothing but put those masks on. So Lashley grabs the table, uses it to bust through the chains above his head and climb out of the top of the cage, and begins to destroy Test all about the chamber.
Let's go.
Lashley wrecks him, spears him, and eliminates him with over a minute left before the Big Show has to enter. So he uses this time to grab his table and chair and get it handy.
So
He's got it handy.
I remember now, one of my other biggest complaints about this was all the downtime in between different people coming in.
Right.
Stuff.
CM Punk got eliminated immediately, and then Test got 2 eliminations and was alone. And yeah, I get it. I want to. I know you think this is the best elimination chamber, but I want to challenge that. I feel like that took away from it being an elimination chamber. Just the weapons and it being extreme is what made it fun.
I mean, yeah, I will say that's fair.
I love putting words in your mouth.
Dare you? That's
Big
disgusting.
Show comes out with his barbed wire baseball bat, and we are ready for one-on-one action. Big Show starts swinging the bat at Lashley, and Lashley deflects the shots with the chair. Then Big Show gets the barbed wire baseball bat stuck in the side of the chamber.
I remember that.
And Lashley capitalizes with some chair shots and throwing Show through a chamber pod.
Let's go.
It's a lot of weight. It wasn't hard to do. Big Show breaks through the other side of that pod just using his big body. And then they take their fight into the ring for a minute. Big Show has the upper hand for 30 seconds. But then Lashley does all of the Lashley moves, minus a Dominator. Can't do the Dominator here. Hits the spear and wins the ECW title. Great choice of champion. A lot of people look back now and they say he was their favorite ECW champion. Now, I didn't go back and say that. It's not mine. I look back at a further time when I think of ECW champions. But for people who just grew up watching wrestling in this era, it makes sense.
He was probably the best. Was he the best champion of that era?
Arguable. I still think Punk would have a great argument to that. John Morrison's one of my favorite from that era.
That's fair, yeah.
Him switching from Johnny Nitro to John Morrison and the
Drink it in, man.
aura. We're going back to that word.
Aura, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting ahead of times. This is just December 3rd, 2006. So that's cool. Again, not speaking on my own behalf. What I will speak on that affects me is the breaking of a high-level rule in pro wrestling here, and that is, under all circumstances or no circumstances, whichever the phrase goes, you do not bring a table into a match and not break through it before the finish. Unbroken tables are bad luck, and that's probably why he dropped the belt to Mr. McMahon later on, now that I look at it. When I look back at it now, because they didn't break that table, Vince McMahon became ECW champion.
See,
who wants to remember that time?
Looking back at this, knowing what I know now, I'm not that upset that Bobby Lashley won.
Yeah, me neither.
But then I remember...
Better than the Big Show.
True. But I also remember who took the title from him, and now I'm again regretting it.
Yeah, of course. It was a great move. If you can't put the title on RVD, if you're not going to push CM Punk yet, giving Lashley that push was...
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine Test?
Because... And a lot of people thought that's where it would go. I mean, Test really was, like, going to get that sort of push, and I'm glad he didn't. But if you remember back before the ECW revamp, Bobby Lashley was touted as, like, the top contender or the top prospect on SmackDown. He was going to be a world champion one day. The best he could do is U.S. champion. And so I felt like they all knew this is the perfect place to put him. Maybe a little different from where we thought he would get the push, but it was obvious that, like, ECW was meant for the Bobby Lashleys. So.
Yeah. DCW was basically their developmental at that point.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because they bring in Kofi Kingston to there,
Yep.
and a lot of people. This is not about WWE CW all the way, though. It is crazy to see what December to Dismember led into.
Yes.
To conclude the match portion, I will say what I always do. I'll say what I always do about this Elimination Chamber, and that's that I know it's not the greatest one, and it's got some irks to it for sure. But the concept was golden. And the pay-per-view, looking back, isn't all that bad. I still stand by it. And on the concept itself, I think they could have redone it at a later time and made it worth watching.
I think the chamber itself definitely could have been, like, even, like, if you did an NXT now.
Yeah.
If you did this in NXT now, this would be amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as, like, the pay-per-view itself, again, I still stand by it. It feels like a house show or a tribute show more than it does besides the Elimination Chamber. Like, all the matches leading up to the chamber feel like they're just thrown together. Like, I get some of them had storylines going in, but, like, making a match special because it's the last time it's going to happen in this brand.
Yeah, it could have been, used as back then we didn't have network specials or anything like that. And that's what I think a lot of people's big drawback is I got to pay $50 for this.
Yeah.
Think about it. People pay $50 to watch this. So, like, I get it.
God.
But likewise, like, ECW was having no pay-per-views at all. And I remember, this is a very weird comment to make on it, but I remember playing SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 and trying to be ECW GM, and, like, they had to just give you, like, random pay-per-views. It'd be like ECW pay-per-view show, and they had nothing.
I mean, I guess you have to start somewhere, I suppose.
Yeah, bad start, though. If you're going to start somewhere, start on a good note.
Yeah.
All right, now we look at the DVD extra screen. Not a ton of stuff, just post-chamber interviews you can watch, but we can't show here. And the rematch between Lashley and Big Show for the ECW title. I'm guessing you know who wins that. So.
Yep.
I recommend this DVD. I recommend this pay-per-view. Not because I feel like it's going to be the best thing you've ever watched, but because it's conducive to our history in pro wrestling, and it's conducive to understanding where ECW started to go downhill. And that doesn't make me think it's a bad pay-per-view. I'll always watch this DVD yearly. Every December, I'm going to bust that DVD out, and I'm going to watch it. That's just who I am as a person.
I'm sorry, but how do you stare at Matt Striker's butt 5 times and say, this is great?
Well, 1, I'm not staring at it. 2.
I mean, if I'm watching something, I'm going to watch it. Okay, so this is the difference between us. When I sit down and watch something, I watch it.
Yeah.
I try not to be on my phone as much and stuff like that. So. But I get it. Good for you.
Yeah. I recommend it, but you don't have to take this recommendation. I get that this isn't a popular opinion, but I put my stamp of approval on it, and I put my stamp of approval on a lot of good stuff. So if this is my one bad take, I'll take that.
That's fair. You know,
think of every...
that's a fair assessment.
Yep, I will take my one bad take. Now, before we go, I tried texting the number to the ECW wallpaper. It will show that picture again. You could text this number for the ECW wallpaper and get your screensaver. Let's see how that goes. This is what we're going to go out to. So it's good to see you guys. You can go ahead and start waiting. Data rates may apply. Data rates may apply.
That's it.